the Virtual Business Owners Network on Friday, the 27th of October. And really just want to spend a few minutes talking about planning for 2024. Now, I've just put a few thoughts together. They're not difficult, but you'll get the general gist of it as we move through it. Most people will probably have worked out by this stage what their likely income is for 2023. And whether that's meeting your expectations, exceeding it, or falling behind, I don't know. However, for 2024, I think people need to consider what it is that they intend to try and achieve. And I'll be doing the same myself. It's interesting in the course of talking to various business owners that when I ask them, what sort of income would you like? Strangely enough, the most common figure that'll always come up for me is about 100 grand a year. And then, of course, the question comes up, net or gross? And they kind of go, oh, well, net, it's about 2 grand a week. And I say, okay, fair enough. What have you to do to achieve that? So I've taken the broad strokes in around the whole area of taxation. And for a lot of people, it'll mean somewhere around about, as you can see, 2,800 per week gross that you need to achieve to get back to your net of 2,000. And ditto 4,000 to get back to 3. Now, these are just the broad strokes. Your tax allowances and that obviously will have a bearing on where you want to go. But I just wanted people to understand, if this is what you want, this is what you need to be working towards. And so therefore that you have a realistic expectation of achieving what you need. Naturally, if you want to earn more, which of course I suppose we'd all like to do, the tax starts ramping up quite rapidly. So therefore the figures need to be calculated and worked out in advance, because the last thing you want to do is be looking at a huge tax bill at the end of the year. So, I mean, what are the routes to you achieving this? Well, again, depending whether you're dealing with services or products, in terms of someone like myself, and a lot of you here, you have a tendency, you're selling services. So what will be the breakdown of that? Sorry, got that you, Nick? Anyway, what you have is a number of different income streams. One of them would be recurring. So who are the main people, and what percentage of your sales are they contributing towards? I was only talking to somebody there during the course of the week, and they had a serious issue because their main client was contributing 90% of their revenue. Now, that's a very, very vulnerable place to be. And I've seen businesses in the past collapse as a result of that. So if you find that anybody in your sort of mix of sales is contributing more than about 25, 30%, it should be the key to you changing it and going to dilute down your dependence on that income. Because if that's the case, you're likely to face a problem down the line. Now, it may not be this year or next year, but it is. And what tends to happen is when you have a sort of a premium account, there becomes an over-reliance and complacency on it. And many a business has failed on that. So what I suggest, just have a look at the business mix. I also want to have a look at what their percentage of the profit that they're delivering. Because while they may be delivering 80% of the sales, they might be only delivering 10% of the profit, or 20%. So the old sort of Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. So have a look at that. You can analyze those figures. And particularly, I know coming up over the Christmas, and you may be busy at the moment and not prepared to spend time on it. But as I said, I'll put this up in on the website and that to have a look at. But, when you get some time down, just to have a consideration around all of that. Again, have a look at the once-off projects. What are they contributing, and where did they come from? Were they referrals, or just did it come through your normal sort of organic side of it, or were they sort of introduced? Where did that all come from? And then what else are you doing? What else could you have in the mix that, you may not have paid attention to it. Maybe somebody contributed 10 grand or 15 grand in terms of profit for you during the course of the year. And you kind of thought, hang on a sec, that came out of the blue. But maybe there's more of that to be looked at. Let's have a look at what you potentially can do. We have a tendency that when we have clients who are very happy with the products and services that we've got, that we actually, again, drop into the mode of what I call complacency. That's great, they're fine, but we're out chasing around looking for other business. And what we tend to forget is that we have other services and projects that we could be talking to our existing clients who are an open door to what we're doing anyway, hopefully, in terms of their experience of dealing with us and the fact that they're happy to pay us and that we're engaging hopefully with them, that we just don't ignore them and take them for granted. What else could we be doing? And you only know that if you actually go out and sit down and chat to them. Because what I've often suggested in the past is you should have regular meetings, and maybe once a quarter or whatever it is, with the most important clients. And really what the question you should be asking is, what's going well? What could we be doing better? And possibly you might add in another piece to that. What other challenges have you got that fits within what we do in terms of our offering? And it's only through exploring those sort of conversations that suddenly you find, well, I didn't know you did that conversation. And that's the one, I suppose, that is the worst one you can ever hear in business. I didn't know you did that. And because I've just given, 30 grand's worth of a business to a potential rival of yours, and you've opened the door for that rival as well. Equally, I think you need to be a bit more creative sometimes. I was speaking to somebody who is in the world of print brokering, and he has a great experience and knowledge based over 30 years in that area. However, print brokering has become not something everybody buys into or wants to pay for. They don't quite understand what it is and the value that it brings. But there was other pieces in terms of the whole area of print management and how that can work. Let me give you a quick example of it. Typically, companies would have maybe brochures printed, and they'll do a mail shot out followed by phone calls. Now, that all sounds great. So on Monday morning, and providing on post is on time and doing what it does, you pump out 200, 300, 400 brochures. And then you decide we'll do follow-up calls on Tuesday and Wednesday. And we just sent you that out. How's that? So it's kind of a hot topic. It's on their desk. But just think of it. From a realistic point of view, you are not going to get to a fraction of them. It may take you 3 or 4 phone calls to get through. 200 of those brochures going out times 3 is 600 calls. And usually some junior in the office are the best intention, it gets wiped out because you're distracted. And so it's nearly a week or so later when people are saying, what brochure? What did you post out? It's probably in the bin. So it's a total waste of time. So from a print brokering point of view, and again, I would have advised this to people, and I'm saying print brokers who use this knowledge, is you should send out 10, personalize them, use digital printing, which allows you the personalization, send out 10 or 20. Now that gives you a much more focused follow-up to do. Also, what else are clients struggling with? And I know Nick would know it and I'd know it. Image management, and also David would be aware of this. Sorry, we go back. Where are we going? There. David would be aware of this, that companies are very bad at managing their resources. So where are all their photographs kept? Where are all their digital files kept? And that's a service that could be offered to people and charge for it, because most companies have it all over the shop. And if you position yourself well and do it correctly, then why not? There's something else. An accountant, from in terms of the usual set of accounts, but let me give you an example of something I came across and that prompted this sort of conversation. I was talking to one of my clients, a new client, and we were just talking about his time usage. And I said to him, well, what is kind of really hurting you at the moment? He says, well, once a month, I spend a whole Saturday inputting transactions onto my Xero accounts. And I said, why are you inputting them? Do you not just upload them from the bank directly? Can you do that? He says. I said, yes, that's part of it. I said, where did you get this system? And it may not have been Xero, it would have been one of the other ones. He said, from my accountant. And I said, did they not show you how this all works? No, they just told me to use that because they use it and it makes it easy for them. And I said, well, that's one of the key features. So that saves you a lot of time. And he went, my God. And I said also, did they not set up all the opening balance and show you how to apply the transaction? He says, no. I said, how are you making your VAT returns? Oh, they charge me every 2 months for my VAT returns. But I said, if it's set up correctly, it's a press of a button and your VAT return is done. No, they never told me that. So these are the things you come across, and I'm kind of scratching my head going, But the accountants could have charged a fee for, helping somebody start using that sort of banking system, because accountants don't want to be doing all the paperwork around it, and getting somebody up and running. So what else could somebody do? In terms of, I was thinking of Denise there and her debt collection signs. It's about how you phrase and frame what you're offering. Like debt collection to a lot of people is, oh, well, I don't have debts. When in fact they do, or they have people who may be likely to become a bad payer. But what sort of offering can you make, and using the right language about, managing credit control in a way that you could show people that, yes, everybody should be checked out. And in fact, I can do that for you for a small fee. I can give you a report, because a lot of people think, I don't really need to do it, or I'm not registered with one of the main agencies for checking that. But you are. So what could you do? And also, I could sit down each month for an hour with you and review your accounts and point out the ones. And you could say, actually, Denise, would you chase up that one and that one? So how can you package that in a different way that makes it more compelling for people that may be not using your services as you would expect them to do so? And it may be all around just how it's been phrased and delivered to them. And finally, just to talk about IT is just such a wide area. But security is going to be one of the key aspects that people are going to be struggling with. But they're not putting in the proper protocols. So it may be a case of you may have to bone up on it. But this could be an add-on to some of the support that you're giving to your own clients. What sort of protocols can you introduce and help them with? What sort of review of technology? What are they using? And how are they using it? Yeah, we know, for example, on this most simple level, that Excel is a massive tool, but people use it about 5 to 10% of its capabilities. And I think that's probably a good sort of benchmark of how people are using other IT tools. And they may have many tools that are not integrating. I know Sean Highland, as part of the group, shows people how those things can all be integrated to be much more effective, and the usage of automation in terms of making productivity much more efficient in your own business. So the purpose of this slide is just to get you to think maybe slightly outside the box. Banging on doors and cold calling is something that none of us like doing, and is actually quite ineffective. Plus, also, unless you're a hardened salesperson, this constant rejection is very demoralizing. However, that's not generally the route to market we should be looking for. If you have some good clients and you're having these regular meetings, is there any reason why in the course of that conversation, you're not asking this client, is there anybody just like yourself who you think might benefit from the sort of service that I'm offering? And let them think about it. And they may not give it to you now, but if it becomes part of a conversation on a continuous basis, it will trigger with them. And remember, an open door is far easier to do business with, particularly if you get that soft introduction. How many of you ask for testimonials? And I've given a sort of script for testimonials in the past. If anybody wants to know more about it, quite happy to do that again. But a testimonial is people telling you how good you are. But you need to make it a bit more specific. And that's why I have a kind of script for it. It's no good saying that, Alan Hennessy is the best thing since sliced bread. That really doesn't kind of resonate with people. But if you can, the more specific you can make it, like in other words, Chris, you did it there in saying that we just had a client coming on. Believe it or not, they had 100,000 issues in relation to their website. Chris and his team very quickly analyzed, sorted out 2/3 of that. And we've seen an increase in productivity of 35%. Now, that's a great testimonial. That's showing people, A, there was a pain, B, who solved it, and C, what the outcome of that was. Past business contacts, many of us have been in business for quite a long time, and maybe in different sectors, but we've forgotten about the people that we came across. Why not just spend some time searching out, who do I know? Yeah, and you kind of think to yourself, I've forgotten about them. And they may have moved on in their life as well. A chance to catch up. You can plan it over the course of a year, maybe meet up for a coffee, do a Zoom, whatever it is. But they may not know what you're doing. And what you're doing may be relevant to people that they know. So why not have a planned sort of marketing campaign around just going out and talking to people who you've known from the past. Equally lost customers, and we've all had them. For some reason or other, we've lost them. Hopefully the relationship didn't break down totally. But again, you may have moved on. You kind of got on all right with them. And it's an opportunity maybe to send them an email, ask how they are, and perhaps catch up. And then the other one, of course, is collaborations. We're seeing that happening on this platform, and it happens quite a lot. But be more creative in what you're looking at, because what we do know is that clients and customers are looking for an integrated package. Buying piecemeal, they're not happy. We've seen it, and Nick and myself saw it in the design world, and it was an interesting transition whereby sort of large accountancy or legal firms, well, take the accountancy, that's a good one, were handling the accounts of large corporations. And then the design world was getting the annual reports and the design of it. And then the printers were getting the print. So it was and then somebody was getting the fulfillment and posting it all out. But suddenly the large accountancy said, well, hang on a second, we'll bring in some designers and we'll design the annual report for you. And then we'll print it using our own sort of partners. And then we'll fulfill it and send it out for you. And suddenly there was business being lost all over the place. So look at what an integrated solution is and who you know that could help deliver that. When it comes to investing in your own business, I talked last year about investing in marketing, and I'll give a report at the end of the year and I'll talk about how successful or unsuccessful that has been. But I think we need to consider what we're prepared to invest in ourselves. And it's not necessarily money. It could be time spent in learning new skill sets. And I don't mean you have to go off and learn how to design a brochure, and because you need a brochure. You should be employing professionals to do that sort of thing. But what would help you to upskill yourself in certain ways? I promised myself I'd learn to type properly. It's been a bit of a failed project, but I am a bit better at typing. I need to just focus more on it. In terms of networking groups, you don't have to pay to join every one, but you should sample some. So, for example, if there's anybody in Dublin would like to come along to a BNI group meeting, now you're not going to be given a hard sell on it, but there may actually be business there for you. And there's one coming up, when is it, on next Tuesday week in Croke Park. So if somebody wants to be my guest, come along, meet some people. You might actually get some business and you won't get the hard sell, but it'll be an interesting experience for you to see for nothing what a networking group's like. And then you can start sampling what networking is on a different level to what we're doing here and decide maybe it might fit as another part of it, or maybe it doesn't work for you at all. So what is your marketing strategy? And do you need to spend some sort of money? There's many different ways. And then the final part of that is, as I said, what IT are you using? You know, we all get into a habit of using a particular type of IT, and possibly we're not using it to its best. What is better out there? And so therefore, part of what I was hoping to do with this group is that we will have people who will talk about different aspects of IT and have you considered using this, that, or whatever it is. So why not, let's have a look at what is out there and use the expertise within the group to give some presentations on how life could be better. And that's it, believe it or not, in a nutshell. And now I'm happy to take any questions. How is that? How are we doing for time? We're okay. 5 minutes for Q&A. Is everybody happy with that?